They killed before they were even teenagers, still in elementary school. A Target 8 investigation into Michigan's youngest killers, ages 6 to 12, shows how they have pushed the justice system to its limits.
They include Jamarion Lawhorn, who was 12 when he killed 9-year-old Connor Verkerke in Kentwood more than 5 years ago. Target 8 investigator Ken Colker and producer Carter Gent spent months investigating the youngest killers and found what can happen when the system works.
Ken joins us now in studio with this story tonight.
Sue and Brian, more than 5 years later, the young man who killed in hopes of being killed, now at age 17, has come to realize there's more to life than wanting to die. There's Jamarion Lawhorn, the youngest ever convicted of murder in Kent County, behind the youth home that has been his home for all of his teen years, with one of the chickens he has raised.
He was raising these chickens. He loves animals, and he had me buy a little coat for it I got, and a leash, and he would walk this rooster around. It was so funny.
There he is, petting a horse at an Amish shop up north during a recent excursion.
He's petting it, and he goes, "You know what? This is the first time I've ever been next to a real live horse."
If it takes a village to raise a child, or in this case, to save a child, those now working with Jamarion are some of the most unlikely villagers. There's the Kent County Juvenile Detention Officer, Frank Briones, who met Jamarion for the first time on the day of the killing and now plays the role of his father. The woman from a prison ministry, Paula Cresswell, who started writing him after watching his story on TV and now plays the role of his mother.
I couldn't get him off my mind. I saw him on TV, I looked in his eyes, and I saw hope, I think. I saw a hurting kid that needed a mom.
And Tony Nunemaker, the grandmother of 9-year-old victim Connor Verkerke, who now plays the part of Jamarion's grandmother.
It was a tragedy that Connor was killed, but a double tragedy would have happened if we'd lost Jamarion at the same time. And as long as there was any way possible that he was going to be able to come back from this, I was in. I felt called to do it.
Kent County 911, where's your emergency?
Can I have a police officer at 5657 Madison?
On August 4th, 2014, Jamarion called 911.
Okay. And what's happening there?
I just stabbed someone.
Connor, say hi.
He had just killed Connor, a boy he did not know, with a kitchen knife in a Kentwood playground. Connor, the oldest of 4 boys, who loved music, who loved to dance, who loved his family. We later learned why Jamarion wanted police to kill him. He lived in a home unfit for kids with a mom and stepdad who beat him and who later went to jail for it. The state that was supposed to protect him had instead abandoned him. Since the killing and his murder conviction, Jamarion has grown up at the former Muskegon River Youth Home near Everett, a locked center for troubled kids. At first, reports from the home were dire: nightmares, outbursts, suicide attempts. Now, still at that youth home, he is in the 11th grade, is planning for college, and talking to Connor's grandmother about starting a foundation to help other kids.
Definitely that it's in Connor's memory that we both want to see if we can make a difference in the world.
There is such a peace in him now. I asked him if he's forgiven himself, and he said, yes, finally I have. And I think that has made the difference in him, of forgiving himself.
A judge in November agreed to let Connor's grandmother, the juvenile detention officer, and the prison ministry founder to take Jamarion on excursions from the youth home. They've taken him on trips to nearby Cadillac, to Big Boy, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, to watch Jumanji at the theater.
I don't think he's ever been a monster.
No.
Even before this, I think he was a hurting child that didn't know how to cry out for help, had tried in other ways.
He had tried to talk with people, though. Yeah.
And
people ignored him. Yeah, he wasn't heard.
While Jamarion is headed toward possible freedom when he turns 19, his victims' parents are left with videos to help keep their son's memory. Connor was a 3rd grader who wanted to be a teacher.
Connor was incredible. He was compassionate, he was smart, he was kind, wise beyond his years.
Her son's death contributed to the breakup of her marriage with Connor's dad. She's had trouble holding onto a job and is now living with a friend.
Nothing will ever be the same.
Her son Cameron was 8 when he witnessed his brother's death. He spoke during Jamarion's sentencing hearing.
And sometimes when I wake up, I wonder where my brother Connor is.
Cameron has gone through 5 years of therapy. He's now 13, no longer has nightmares. He is now the big brother.
Every time someone asks me if I forgive Jamarion, I always ask them what their definition of forgiveness is, because I feel that forgiveness is a thing that is very self-defined. By my definition of forgiveness, yes, I have forgiven him, which is that I am no longer emotionally invested in his life.
She is struggling to live a life without her son.
Hello, my name's Connor. What's your name?
Connor's mom, who has not wanted to meet Jamarion, told us today that after watching our digital documentary, she is ready to. Now you can see the full report on Jamarion and Connor and the rest of the documentary, Youngest Killers, on our website. I'm Target 8 investigator Ken Kolker.